All right. Good morning. Thursday, July the 11th. It's already here. They're starting the Ed Murphey Track and Field Classic this weekend in Memphis, the 11th,
Eddie
12th,
Murphy.
and 13th. Eddie Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-E-Y.
The Eddie Murphy? I know you know a lot of people, but,
yeah, but
I didn't know you knew Eddie Murphy.
This is not the Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
This is the Eddie Murphy to me. We're going to talk about, there'll be a lot of Gators up here, I'm sure, running in this track and field championship. This is before the Olympics in Memphis on the South Campus, the University of Memphis. We got John Hartwell, AD at ULM. John is going to talk about something that I don't know a lot of us are hearing about, possible coaching salary caps for college athletics. This ought to be a fun one. And Gary Harris, Tide 100.9, Channel 23 in Tuscaloosa, Tide Insider TV. They're coming on. So
coming on.
Smash subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Allow notifications on your Android and iPhone.
You're not going to notice the music I'm playing for you today? I'm playing you music this morning.
Yeah,
got some beats for you.
Yes,
I want you to recognize the little bit of it. These are the wrinkles that I bring to you, sir.
Yes,
my offerings as your executive.
The nuances.
It's the nuances.
The nuances.
Things I do for you, Rob.
It says something about the duality of man. We'll be right back. Get pen and paper handy. A lot of it.
A lot of it.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, there he is, John Hartwell. John, a busy man. Yesterday you were in one place. Today you're at another. And around 9 o'clock you're hopping on a plane to go on another trip. So glad to have you here for a few minutes. And this just in off the wire, possible salary caps in college athletics. I'm handing the ball off to you. Get her in the end zone for us, John. Good morning and welcome to Sidelines.
Yeah, like you said, that's kind of a new twist. And every day, man, I was having this conversation, as you referred to yesterday, myself and Bryant Vincent, our head football coach and our head athletic trainer, made a quick trip over to Auburn. We have a Edward Via College of Osteopathic Medicine here at UL Monroe, and we are one of now 4 places. They've got 3 other campuses. It started at Virginia Tech. They've got one in Spartanburg, South Carolina, at USC
Wofford
State, I guess. And now and at Auburn, obviously, and we just had our first graduating class here at the one on the campus of ULM. So just spent the day with some of the folks over there at Auburn and looking how the VCOM folks who have some guys who are some physicians and some staff who are well versed in sports medicine and their work in unison with Auburn athletics and more specifically Auburn sports medicine. So it's a good day over there. But, I was having a conversation with Jeremy Roberts over there, who's been a longtime friend, longtime member of the Auburn athletic department. Yeah. Just about, hey, every day if you can't roll with the punches now in this business, you better get out, because every day there's something. And, as you alluded to, an article this morning that came out saying that the University of Oklahoma is working with a consulting firm, a guy that's headed by a guy who used to work for the Philadelphia Eagles and help them manage their salary cap information and trying to get ahead of that. So you got that on the one hand, then I guess there's not always where there's smoke, there's fire, but there's some belief from several news outlets this morning as football media days start that the Florida State Clemson tandem out of the ACC who's looking for a home now, that it appears, I won't say that the SEC and the Big Ten have shut the door, but it is in process of closing, and that there are several that believe that those two institutions are heating up talks with the Big 12. So here we go, just another day of change in rock and roll and college athletics.
Oh yeah, nothing to see here. Keep driving along, please move forward. All right, John.
Sorry, folks. Park's closed. Moose out front should have told you.
Yeah, the moose out front should have told you. Yeah.
Hey, Rob, I do have one question though, man. Why couldn't I be on with Eddie Murphy? I mean, I know
exactly.
Off early, but come on now.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
Are you kidding? Are you getting the PG version? Or are we going full out Eddie Murphy?
No, we're going Eddie
13.
now. Eddie now. Eddie
we're talking
watered
about
down.
The Ed Murphy Track and Field Classic today, tomorrow, and Saturday, as they say in the South, 11th, 12th, and 13th of July at the South Campus, University of Memphis. This is a monster event. The fourth year they've done it, and there'll be track and field athletes from all over the world. I went last year, and there were Olympians just all around you, and it's kind of like going to, the Kentucky Derby. The horses that are there are the best. These athletes are it's unbelievable. And you're talking sub 2200s, and there'll be a lot of Gators. There'll be people from everywhere. Globally, track and field and swimming, the track and field stars are bigger than about anybody in America. I'm talking football, basketball, whatever, but we're going to talk to them in the last part of the show. All right, what's going to happen when a school, a coach challenges a salary cap? Because, again, our barrister in residence, Jack Turner, for Sidelines, my attorney, a proud graduate of the Hugo Black College of Law in Tuscaloosa, said those antitrust laws guarantee Americans, and our Constitution does, three things: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's how NIL got to be what it is. So can you make a case? I know you're not a lawyer before 9 a.m. Central, but want to take a guess at that?
Yeah, and I think this is just another one of those scenarios. And I know you have quite a few attorneys and armchair attorneys who listen in, and no offense to any of those who actually have a law degree. I have all the respect and admiration. But as with, basically every chess move that's been made in college athletics, and specifically by the NCAA over the course of the last 20 years, it's like you've got, this whole group of attorneys who are saying, no, checkmate here, and here's my class action suit, and here's who's doing this. So to say the attorneys are the biggest winners in some of these shifts may be the understatement of the year. But I think it's going to be challenged. But I understand at the same time too, and I know, the initial number is 20 to 22 million, which obviously, those of us here in Warhawk Nation, and I would venture to say all of Group of Five, save maybe a handful of schools, and the 20 to 22 million dollar figure that's been put out there. There's probably 12 to 18, maybe 20 schools who can do that without a pretty significant hit in some other areas. But the vast majority, even at the Power 4 level, there are going to have to be changes come. And especially, I know there's no crystal clear conclusion yet, but squad limits are a part of this. And that's going to limit scholarships in some sports. I don't know that 85 is going to move, football is going to move off 85 at the FBS level for scholarships. But let's not kid ourselves, because you've got some schools right now, because they're giving NIL money to 120 kids. In essence, they've got 120 kids that are getting their school fully paid for. And so there are all kinds of cat and mouse games going on. But again, it's back to what I said at the first. You got to roll with the punches. It's either adapt and survive and move on and find a way to do it, and be a glass half full person, or dig your heels in and say, this is going down a bad path, and screw it, we're not going to do it. Well, if you take the screw it, we're not going to do it attitude, you're you're either individually going to be out of the business, or your institution, is going to be Division II, Division III quicker than you think.
Yeah, that is the issue. But rolling with the punches, and as we get closer to the game starting, the good thing is this stuff slows down. But people don't like perpetual chaos. I mean, you can turn on the news at night and watch a moderator with someone in this box, screaming at each other for 8 minutes until a big corporate sponsor tells them to take a commercial break. Then they come back and they do it again and again. That's fine if you want to do that. At 9 o'clock Eastern, you ought to be watching the Buddy Martin show right here on this network. Do something like that, or talking to your wife, or working out. John, I really wish, and I mean this, I wish you were running the NCAA, because the people like you that started it, you worked for the big beer distributorship in Charleston, doing all their accounting, private sector, helped Georgia State get their football program off the ground in Atlanta. You know Bill Curry, don't you?
Yeah, not well, but I know him. Yep.
Yeah. He's I'd love to have him on the show. I've grown to like him more and more. People from that era. If you played for Vince Lombardi, you've got my respect forever. But the journey that you've been on, you've built everywhere you've been, and you're rebuilding and building up at ULM. That's what is so cool about college sports. And what's not to like about that? I think, and I was talking to someone, maybe it was you've got a bunch of activist attorneys who have sought out and found activist student athletes. Okay. And a lot of this stuff, it's like our political nightmare in Washington. Well, we watch sports to get away from that, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, and it has been, and this has not changed regardless of NIL or transfer portal or any of those things. Athletics, and in particular, at least it has been, college athletics, has been a melting pot that has been very good, not just for those participating, are very good for the fans of the institution they play for, but for society as a whole, because you have people from all different socioeconomic, ethnic, religious, every other background that you can imagine coming together for a common cause. Yeah. And in today's society, we need that all we can get, because it does not happen very often. And I think that is still a very powerful draw of intercollegiate athletics in general. I mean, you can start at, fifth grade YMCA basketball and work your way all the way up. I mean, I'm not a big fan of everybody plays 2 quarters and you don't turn the scoreboard on and you hold hands
Neither
afterwards.
Am I. Hey, never will be.
If winning weren't so important, we wouldn't spend so damn much money on these big, nice scoreboards. But that's a whole other topic. but
quote of the day so far.
But again, I think all these things that we're having to work through, at the end of the day, college athletics is going to come out the other side. People are still going to be very passionate about it. There are going to be great stories left and right, underdogs winning, student athletes who have overcome, mountains of adversity to be successful and lead their teams to victory. None of those things are going to change. We've just got to work through some of these other things. But, again, they're challenges. They wake me up in a cold sweat some nights at 2 a.m., along with not only the challenges of those, but how the heck we pay for them. But this, the essence of college athletics, is still very powerful and will continue to be very powerful. And I think you make a great point, Rob. We're now into football media days, and there is no active game going on right now in any sport intercollegiately. You get ready for the Olympics, but we're still, 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away from games starting, whether it's cross-country meets or volleyball matches or soccer matches or football games. And when that starts, these other things will be going on, but there'll be a lot more to, scores and stats to consume, the media bandwidths, the various ones, and folks will be talking a lot more about games than about these issues.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And nobody ever complains when their team is hoisting up a national championship trophy. There's too many white guys, too many black guys, too many Catholics, too many Jews, too many Presbyterians. Nobody cares. All that stuff, it doesn't matter. Coach Dye, I will never forget him and Bo Schembechler at Antoine's the night before the Sugar Bowl in 1984, Auburn, Michigan. Coach Dye said, as only he could say it in that northern accent of his, that southern accent of his. He said, I'm going to tell you all the things the government's done and all that, it is what it is. He said, but ain't nothing pulled people together in the South like college football. Nobody cares. And you think about the realism. That's genuine, that's authentic, and it's from the heart. And when I talk to Pat Jr. or I talk to Ralph Jr., Ralph Shug's son, I go, Ralph, if I close my eyes, I think I'm talking to your dad. And I still remember July 17th, 1980, when Shug Jordan died. We were on the way to Destin, and my mother always made us stop at Constantine's in Mobile because the gumbo is so damn good. And right now, she's listening, she's watching with the bay leaf in there and the crab claw. That's real gumbo. But there's nothing like college sports. And what I've found to be so cool is when if you go to ULM, you go to Gainesville, you go to Fayetteville, whatever, it's so personal. When you run somebody's college team down, it's like saying their kids are ugly or stupid. There's just nothing. My mother is so intense. She can't watch an Auburn game now around other people. She has to be by herself. She and Uncle Smirnoff. And that's just the way it is. But, John, you are so blessed to be an athletic director because, you've got 3 of your own children, but you've got almost 400 more de facto children. How cool is it to go into work every day and know that you can have a positive impact on somebody's life just with the stroke of a pen or a few words? Because, Coach Dooley always said, the impact of words is forever. They're powerful.
Yeah, it is. And, and I've mentioned this here before on the show. Obviously, the here and now, the 385 student athletes we have at ULM, that's my job as the athletic director, to give them the tools and resources they need to be successful in the classroom, on the fields of play, and ultimately in the game of life. And you don't always see the fruition of that during their time here as student athletes. But when I have, a Jordan Love text me periodically, a Neemias Keita and Nemi, and I really hadn't talked about him on this show. He's a kid who we had his first day in the United States. He came from Portugal to Utah State. You talk about, going from Portugal, popping into Logan, Utah, and
culture shock here. Please move along.
That is, but fast forward now, and here he is. Just completed his second year in the NBA, and he has a world championship ring. He scored 2 points in the NBA finals, in a mop-up role for the Celtics, but he's a world champion. People can't take that from him. And, he was texting me the other day, and he said he sent me a picture of his first day in the United States on campus at Utah State, he and I together in a picture. And, there aren't a whole lot of people who tower over me, but being 7 feet tall, Nemi towered over me. But I just think, man, here's this wide-eyed kid who, he wasn't worried about, a 25,000 seat arena, what all deals he got. What his first 2 months, he said, when he first went in our campus dining facility there in Logan, he's like, gosh, all this food, do I just get one? Can I go back? And he had no clue. You thought it was a kid in a candy store with what he's got. So it's all relative. And when you see success stories like that, really start, obviously he was an 18-year-old, but I say start in their infancy and where he is today. Those are the things that are really satisfying. Not just on the athletic side, but being, professionals in life or good dads or moms. All of those things to me are some of the blessings that I get from being in this business.
Yeah. Well, and also it's knowing people off camera. It's the moments like when you go back 10, 15, 20 years after you left college and your coaches are still there, the trainers, the people in the athletic department. I mean, that is so powerful. And I always remember, like I said, my brother-in-law played football at Virginia Tech. I was up there with him 10 years after he had graduated. Went in there one Sunday afternoon. We were just up in Blacksburg waiting for my sister to have her first child, and she was like 8 days. I'm like, when's it coming? And anyway, we're up there at Virginia Tech. We go in the training room, and every one of them remember. He wasn't even a superstar or anything. But they know you and those relationships that you have. I'll tell you something. These kids that are bouncing around schools every 3 months, they're going to rue the day that they did that, and just didn't stick it out. Because how many times, think about when you were a knob or you were a cadet at VMI, where all my family went, that in West Point before me, I broke the streak. But I think, how many times did you say, this sucks? Charleston, it may have some good food, but we're eating damn chow in the mess hall. I get 3 hots and a cot. Screw this. But you hung in there. You fought, you never quit, and that's why you have a great career, and you're smart. You got a degree in accounting. It's so, all right, now, what we're talking about, we got media days coming up. We're heading to Dallas Sunday. Brenda and I are going to be out there bunking together since Audrey can't go. There's a lot going on. Everybody's got their media days. It's like, they say it's the unofficial start of football season, but we never really stop. We just kind of vary the levels of intensity. Look at that cowboy hat, that Stetson from Hewlett. By the way, Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee, live from the Boot Room concert. Unbelievable music. Saturday, July 20th. Get your tickets while you can. I was out there Tuesday, and it's like you're in Yellowstone. I don't know if Lainey Wilson's showing up, but there's going to be somebody. Oh, I'll tell you the name of the band coming, the Park Hillbillies. The Park Hillbillies. You got to love them. But, John, you look around. You're going to Puerto Rico. Look how many student athletes, baseball players, are coming up from the Dominican Republic, and Venezuela, and Puerto Rico. My goodness. College, the reach of American college athletics is ginormous. But you know what? We cannot drop swimming. We can't drop track and field. We cannot drop gymnastics, softball. We can't drop, any of these sports, because then where's our Olympic program going to be?
Yeah, that's a great point, Rob. And I was thinking about that when you said, you're going to take in some of the track and field event this weekend in Memphis. That's, our United States Olympic training folks have had a huge benefit for many years because of, the feeder system that is high school and then into collegiate athletics, not just for U.S. Olympians, but obviously for Olympians from all over the world who come here and compete at the collegiate level. But yeah, that's going to be one of those things as we look at squad limits and, some of the budget restraints. And I know you and I talked off air the other day. One day, hopefully maybe next Thursday, we can talk a little bit more about financial impact and budget.
Absolutely. Yes.
In that. Cool. But yeah, that's a real concern. Hey, I've got to run in a minute, Rob, but I want to go back to a word you used a few minutes ago, because on our way over to Auburn yesterday, we had a couple of the VCOM doctors on there, and Bryant Vincent, our head football coach, who some of the Alabama listeners know of him, of his time in 22 as the interim head coach at UAB. Mm-hmm. He was the offensive coordinator for Bill Clark there, OC at South Alabama, successful head coach at Greenville High School, and won a state championship at Spanish Fort. But, he is so good. I tell him he's still on his honeymoon because he hadn't lost a game yet. But anyway, he was talking about, the one thing that has not changed is relationships. And he feels like, and I agree with this, relationships between coaches and players in today's world of NIL and transfer has become even more important. And, kids are very perceptive. They can read through and listen through canned talk from a coach. And, the old adage about kids don't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Correct.
That applies, man. You got to be real with them. You've got to build their trust. And again, when you're turning over rosters, sometimes that's tougher to do. Mm-hmm. But I think that's really, really important, as it has always been important. But, in terms of building team chemistry, but even more important going forward, when you look at successful NBA guys over the years, Phil Jackson was a little quirky, but Phil Jackson was as much a philosopher and psychologist as he was an X's and O's guy.
So preaching to the choir on that one. He's like, I have all my, when you do what we do and you start grinding into some of these things, Phil Jackson, I don't know if you read his book or not. I think he has two of them, but if Urban Meyer was an NBA basketball coach, I think they would be very similar. The way that they coach the psychological part of not the game, but the mind, right? The books that he would leave for you to read and all these things, and how he would play people off each other. And I think some people who is maybe more of a casual fan of sports doesn't understand that's not like manipulation, dark manipulation. It's in a lot of ways, it's getting the most production out of that player. And trust me, that player wants that coaching and that production. Would you agree or disagree, John?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way. Hey, by the way, Phil Jackson has retired, lives on a beautiful piece of property. If you ever get a chance to go to Montana, go to Flathead Lake in western Montana. Absolutely beautiful place.
Yeah, and it's the water's so clear out there. My kids say when they're trout fishing, the fish kind of look at you. It's so clear, and they're like going, "Seriously, you got to try something else." I'm not biting that. It's gorgeous.
Montana's God's country.
Yeah, John, I know you got to get rolling, but absolutely love having you on here. Let people know how they can follow you, keep up with all the great stuff you're doing, and we'll talk next week. Have a safe trip to Puerto Rico, and don't get sunburned. Don't forget to put on the sunscreen.
Yeah, no doubt. This time tomorrow morning, God willing, I'm going to be fishing in the Atlantic Ocean off the eastern coast of Puerto Rico. So, hey, it's work though. I'm going to see a donor down there. So,
I feel like you need a really good producer.
Today's world in college athletics, the ability to take 4 days and kind of decompress and go cultivate a donor. I'll take it in small snippets when I can get it. But John, hey guys, thanks again.
I've been a caddy and a producer, so I'm very versatile. So if you need someone to help you out, I'm your guy.
Hey, if you can meet us at the Miami FBO here about noon Eastern time, come on.
Done. That's only like a 4.5 hour. Rob, have a good show.
No, guys. Thanks, and enjoyed it as always. ULMWarhawks.com. We're still about 10 days away from Sunbelt Conference Media Days down in New Orleans. But getting ramped up about that. A lot of talk, not only around campus, but around the state and in the Sunbelt Conference about a guy named General Booty. We'll talk some more about that. Part of the Booty family that the LSU folks are very familiar with. Yeah. But excited to have him transferring from Oklahoma as a quarterback for us. John_Hartwell on X. And as guys, as always, appreciate the opportunity to visit with y'all. Gary, sorry I didn't get to have more crossover with you this morning, but hey, I just batted leadoff. You're in to clean it up. So
well, have fun.
And just fun. Know on the backside of you got Eddie Murphy coming on. So you got to bring the A game today.
Well, have fun cultivating that relationship with the donor.
Yes.
Thanks, John. Hey, John, by the way, we tagged you in our post on Twitter this morning. So, feel free to reshare, okay? Just
perfect. Will do.
All right, brother.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. John has been, I love getting him on here and picking his brain. Gary Harris, folks, WVUA TV, Channel 23, Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 does a great show right after this, 9 to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Put that app on your phone, Tide 100.9. Covers Alabama, the SEC, and the big picture. True grit journalism. Man, we got media days. Brendan and I are heading out there Sunday. If you want us to provide any reports, man, we're here for you because you help us so much on this show. And Brendan and I, we're going to be bunking together because Audrey's got to work. And so said, Brendan, I'll have the producer right there. And
we'll got those Oakley, double beds, right? Because
yeah, 2 double beds, of course. Yes, 2 queens, whatever it is. But anyway, got a lot going on at media days. Brendan mentioned before we started the show this morning, and recruiting, Gary, we're starting to see a lot of these kids, like they commit, and then people find out, okay, that's their asking price with NIL. Every school, Southern Cal, Auburn, Alabama, you got kids that are now leaving. You lost one to Florida yesterday, but I mean, Alabama will just go get another 4 or 5 star. The roster is 88% 4 and 5 stars, but kind of bring us up to speed on what's going on before we start cranking things up Monday morning in Dallas.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy out there. Miles Johnson is the kid that you're referring to that committed to Florida. He's a linebacker from T.R. Miller down in Bruton. Great football tradition.
Wow, yeah.
He was a Kevin Steele guy. Kevin Steele kind of recognized him and offered him before really anybody else. And nobody had really been on him at all. And he tore up his knee. Great athlete. I watched the video of him because a friend of mine's on that staff down there and said, man, this kid is an unbelievable athlete. He hardly had any interest. And but Alabama got on him and got him committed. Then, of course, you have a coaching staff change. And I think that the interest that was shown by Alabama was less with this staff than it had been with the previous staff. And so I think it was kind of one of those deals where you could kind of read the tea leaves and see that this was going to go in a different direction. So I like him. I think he's going to be a really good player. But I think there's some other players at Alabama with this staff like more than they liked Miles Johnson. So that's kind of the way it goes. And, you've got 6 commits in this class for Alabama from the state of California. And you've only got 5 committed from the state of Alabama. So, Courtney Morgan, Kalen DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, they all have a strong West Coast connection, obviously. That's still and Saban recruited California fairly regularly too, but not to this extent. So it still feels a little peculiar to me that you're this far into the cycle with like 21 commits and you've got more commitments from California than you do from Alabama. But on paper, this is a very, very, very strong class. And, and I think with the guys that they've got potentially committing down the road, I think Alabama's in the conversation for, again, the number 1 overall recruiting class, which probably when this coaching change happened, you wouldn't have had too many people with that on their bingo card that Alabama would once again, because I think the perception was, well, Saban's gone. DeBoer's coming in from Washington. Alabama will recruit well, but they won't recruit the way they've been recruiting. But on paper, they are. Now, in reality, to me, even though the world and the country's a lot smaller, there's not the differences in football as much anymore geographically as there once was. But still, I still think that's an adjustment for that many players coming from California to Alabama. We'll see how it works out. But as you said earlier, Rob, too, the recruiting process, pardon me, never ends. And you get them committed, then you still got to get them signed. And even after you get them signed, we've seen, they can come in December, and if they come in early and if they don't like it, they can leave and go somewhere else. So it's never ending. But so far for Alabama, this staff has attacked recruiting very similarly to the way that the Saban staff did. And they've got an unbelievable class that they're putting together.
Yeah, and you think about it in everything else, in business and in school, 5th graders, you may be coaching some team and 2 of them decide to go to the school 3 blocks down the street. That's just how it is. But eventually there's always been people transferring. I think we're getting all jittery, and we're almost 6 years into the portal. I'm not surprised Alabama's still recruiting well. Still Alabama.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not either, Rob. I think
not at all.
I think a lot of that stuff that got written in a lot of the internet chatter was wishful thinking. I think there were a lot of the rival fan bases and rival media outlets that thought, well, now, boy, there's going to be a chink in the armor. And I think because Brian Harsin had gone to Auburn and struggled in recruiting, that there were a lot of people trying to draw a parallel there, and they were completely different situations. So, no, I'm not either. I get asked all the time about DeBoer, and, and you know how it is, Rob, regardless of your school, fans are all the same. Had this discussion as far as really the way that they think. And, now that Coach Saban's retired and, you've got DeBoer in here. I mean, I'm reading a lot of stuff from Alabama fans. Well, it was great with Saban and all this, but boy, I have never seen this much enthusiasm around the program, and I've never seen this, and I've never seen that, and this guy. And I'm like, whoa, slow it down. You just experienced possibly the greatest coach in college football history for 17 years. Let's slow the roll just a little bit here. But having said that, all you can do, in my opinion, is judge him so far on the 6 months that he's been on the job. And so far, he's hit a home run in terms of the way he's handled the responsibilities, the recruiting. I thought spring was very, very good. And there are some things about him that certainly fans warm up to more than they did with Nick Saban. One of them is the fact that he's just willing to do so many more appearances. I mean, he's been on the rubber chicken circuit in a way that Nick Saban never was or never would. But that's who he is. So I'm comfortable with him doing that. Just like Nick Saban, that's not who he was. Saban prioritized in a different way. And so to this point, has Kalen DeBoer hit a grand slam? Absolutely, he has. I mean, there's nothing right now, and as we sit here in mid-July, that you can, from my perspective, covering him, that you can pick apart. Now, I say that to say this. All this stuff that's such a big positive right now in July, the music, blaring the music on the speakers at practice and having internet celebrities in and all of the social media stuff that the players are doing and access to the players and assistant coaches, which we haven't had around here in 17 years because Nick Saban didn't allow it. All of those things now that everybody's so excited about, and I get it, they won't matter. If you go to Madison, Wisconsin in week 3 and you get upset by the Wisconsin Badgers, and then you have a bye week and you come home and you lose to Georgia. If you're 2-2 sitting here in late September, none of that's going to matter. And then everything that the fans are saying are positive, you know how quickly that'll turn into a negative? Well, I told you, that's what you get when you got, you're blaring that music out at practice and you got that guy, that Bama Roll Tide Willie guy out there. So you got to win. So, at the end of the day, he's going to be, gauged just like all football coaches are. And all this stuff that's great now will still be great if he wins. If he doesn't, it's going to get ripped apart. I joined when y'all were talking about Phil Jackson. Yeah, Phil Jackson, 11 championships, dude. I mean, there's no – but,
what else can you say?
All that holistic approach to coaching and all the – it's great because he won. Because he won. If he had lost, if he had not – then people would have said the guy was a quack. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Exactly.
So when you're coaching, all the things that you do, if you have success, people say, oh, man, that's great. He gets it. If you don't have success, they're going to say, man, what a loser. So at the end of the day, you got to win games.
Yeah. Well, and so few people get to be around these coaches. Like when I remarried Audrey, our oldest daughter, Mallory, her freshman year at Alabama, she's at Mass, having gone to St. Pius X in Atlanta as a freshman. And they offer the sign of peace, and she turns around, and it's Coach Saban. He looks at her, and she looks at him, and she goes, that's okay. People stare at me like this all the time. And he started laughing. But I also have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends like Paul Douglas. His wife Miller's from Camden, Alabama, when she went to Tuscaloosa. Anytime he's down in that area, and he's a Notre Dame guy, Notre Dame grad, he goes, I'll make a point to go to the Saban Student Catholic Center that him and his wife, I mean, there's so much stuff. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I've had some bosses over the years that were insane, hard asses. I had one from Mobile that had us do push-ups on the floor. Said we had to stay at work 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And then on Saturdays, 7 until 1 till we made a certain amount of money each month. And I had just started from zero. That was good. I liked that. Nick Saban, for someone to say, yeah, there's so much more access. Who wouldn't take that guy at 72 now?
To your point, Gary, I mean, I've covered Florida for a while. We have Gatorbait Magazine, Gatorbait Media. We got staff doing the same sort of stuff that you're doing, and we've been living in in the desert, with information. In fact, I'm not. We've openly knocked Billy Napier with several people. He's the only coach in the last 40 some years that hasn't done an interview with my dad, Buddy Martin. And we weren't knocking him in the sense of like, hey, you got to pay homage or kiss the ring, but more in the sense of like, hey man, there's some tradition and things that you should do when you come to an SEC school that you've got to follow through. And that's good that Caleb gets that. And because I think that's where Billy went wrong from the beginning. And I think he turned a lot of people that could have been allies against him. And I think that you go around trying to change everything at a school like Alabama or Florida or any of these schools in the SEC with rich tradition, I think you really, really don't understand what it means to coach in the SEC.
Yeah, or you better be Nick Saban. You better be able to do it and then have the results. The problem with, and you mentioned Billy, obviously, because I had read some of the same things, and if you go to Florida, it's like Kurt McNair here in Tuscaloosa. If Billy, Kurt McNair asks you to do an interview, you need to do it. Same thing with Buddy Martin. The problem with a lot of the people that coached under Saban, and this is why I was happy Alabama went in a different direction. If you get somebody who's trying to do it like Saban, but they're not Saban, there's a difference there, And I liked Billy when he was on staff here. I think he's a good football coach. I wondered from the time he got that job if that job was too big for him. We'll see. So far, it appears that it has been. This is a critical year for him, and you can speak to it more than I can, but I would think that this is kind of the telltale year here. I mean, when you look at that schedule, and I know the SEC is brutal, but when you're playing Central Florida, Miami, and Florida State, I'm thinking he needs to win 2 out of 3 of those, right? I mean, there's something got to turn here in the right direction for him.
You got to get 5 or 6 wins, with that schedule to I think to hang on.
And Gary, you're talking about Kalen DeBoer. You got a chance to talk with him when, Final Four, he's like, hey, y'all guys want to come over, you and Rodney. But right there, in my opinion, Kirk McNair is the oldest living journalist in Alabama. I mean, he's got the respect of people, Auburn and Alabama and everywhere, as you do. Okay. That's why when you got a chance to talk to Kalen DeBoer, you're good at reading people. He knows what he's got going on, but he's also smart enough to show respect, but be his own man, isn't he?
He is. Like I said, he's hit a home run so far. There's no way around it. When I sat down with him, I mean, he was engaging and he was genuinely. It did not come across as, transparent. It came across as this is really who I am, and that's why I said I think all the speaking engagements, all the things that he's doing, I'm okay with it. Because that's who he is. I don't think he's doing it to try to win favor. I just think he's very comfortable. He's coaching to his personality, and I think that's why it was such a good hire for Alabama. Because again, there were a lot of Nick Saban proteges out there, but you just had Nick Saban. Last thing I think you wanted to do is bring in somebody who was going to try to do it like Nick Saban, but they're not. I just don't think that was going to work. We'll see what happens with DeBoer on the field. As I said, the numbers are going to dictate how everybody feels about him here in a few months. But he's a proven coach. He's got his own system in place. He's comfortable in his own skin. He respects Nick Saban. My gosh, man, Nick Saban's still making $500,000 a year. Not that he needs it, but from the University of Alabama, and has an office basically just to be an ambassador. But I think that's a good thing. Having him around, I think that it gives everybody a good vibe that he's still close and he's still part of the program from the sense that, he represents Alabama. And then you've got Kalen DeBoer with a chance now to kind of to do it his way. And I like him a lot. And getting back to the Florida thing with Billy, I don't understand that either. When you come into a place, I know you're going to say, hey, I'm going to do it my way. But to right off the bat alienate key people to me is unusual, and you'd better win. And he better win this year, or there's people remember things. And when you come in as a football coach, everybody wants you to be successful. And initially, all these things that you do, people can't really bow up against it. But once the tide turns in the opposite direction, man, people remember the way they've been treated, and they remember things, and media and boosters and people that are around the program can come back and bite you if you don't have success. I'm gonna be really interested in what happens at Florida.
I think that's what we're seeing, some of that, Gary, with boosters already. I think that the Rashada thing early was not a good thing, which didn't go away. And I think that and I know it soured a lot of boosters' potential money, and I think that's certain. Florida, and somewhat. I know they've had pretty good recruiting. Billy's always been a good recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's I've never met him, but everyone says he's a really nice, great human being, and everyone speaks highly of him as a person. So you want to root for him, of course. And I'm a Gator fan, so of course I want to root for Billy Napier, no question. But when you kind of see things like, I'm not going to go get an OC this year, it's like just things along the way that could sort of lead up into the demise of all of this. I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Gary.
Yeah, Gary. This is look. I know we've got Eddie and Addie coming on right now to talk about the track and field, but let people know how they can follow you. Let's do this again next week.
Okay.
You've had a rough lately. I know your mom passed away. We love you and have you on here.
Sorry,
Gary.
Thanks.
Yeah, you are.
Oh man,
you're as good as it gets.
Man.
And he's been and I tell you, I love the conversations off air from you about Epic and about games and stuff. And please never retire. You're just a voice of. You're smart and you tell it like it is. And what I really love is what you're talking about, and you add tons of value to this show. So always an honor. We love having you on.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Yeah, at Gary Harris _WVUA on Twitter, X, Twix, whatever you refer to it as. My Gary Harris WVUA 23 page on Facebook. Very active on both of those. And, of course, Tide109.com is the website for the radio station, and WVUA23.com is the website for the TV station. We got an app for the radio show, and we're now getting an app for the TV station as well. So I'll be very available.
What is the app for the TV station?
Well, we're still putting it together, but it's going to be. We're going to have a big launch for it here very, very soon. So that'll be good. And put us on your phone. Hey, thanks, guys.
I tagged you on Twix.
Lockdowns.
Yeah. I found you. I tagged you. I tagged you in Twix. For the show. So if you don't mind retweeting us, that would be awesome. Thanks you so much, Gary. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys.
Take care.
God bless with your mom stuff, man. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Hey, let's bring in Eddie Murphy and Addie Wiley right now, the Ed Murphy Track and Field Classic. And look, Eddie, it's funny what a small world it is. We were just talking to Gary Harris in Tuscaloosa back when you and I were like in, 6th or 7th grade. We're down at Destin, Silver Dunes. My dad leaves for a couple of days, comes back. I go, where you been? He goes, Tuscaloosa. And I said, what for? He goes, talking about building a track and field complex and a tennis complex. I said, did you meet the bear? And he goes, well, I was going in the bathroom and he was coming out. I go, what did he say? He just, really Sam Bailey ran things. But to this day, they still have the Sam Bailey Track and Field Complex that my dad designed in the mid-'70s. And I got to meet the bear at the Liberty Bowl against UCLA when it was about 20 below zero in 1976. And they said, go over there and shake his hand. He's over there wrapped up and looked like he was on the Arctic Circle smoking a Chesterfield. And I shook his hand and he just kind of went, ugh, but that's how it was. Hey, track and field is your insurance policy for every sport you play. Eddie, your dad, the legacy lives on. Let's talk about the classic. You and Addie take over from here. But Brendan's down in Ocala, Florida, has Gator Bait Media. They know about Mouse Holloway, the coach down there, 14 national championships. I love track and field, so let's talk.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having us on this morning, man. We got a great couple of days. Started off last night, had a little sponsors party, so everybody's feeling good and ripe, and got a press conference this morning at 10 o'clock, and then we got youth starting this morning with all the field events, and then tonight we've got, just a super lineup just for the field events. Our triple jump, we've got Christian Taylor coming tonight. He's a two-time Olympic champion, four-time world champion. We've got Jaden Hibbert, who is the odds-on favorite to win the gold medal this year in Paris, coming in. And then Omar Craddock, who's an amazing guy, Florida guy. The Gator Bait will love him. So is Christian. Obviously, what a great talent they have down there in that in their field events down there. And so all three of them will be there, plus many more, including Addie right here, who's amazing. So we're really looking forward to it. Talking about Addie here real quick, just kind of give her a little pump. Not only is she Paul Doyle's agent, but you're going to get to talk to one of the great up and coming girls. Addie, I think you're close to 19, 20 years old. And in a span of 4 days, she broke the collegiate record in the 800 meter and the 1500 meter. And one of those she took down was the thing Mose. So, she's a superstar, great girl.
God.
Really looking forward to this.
Addie, I love track and field. I mean, I got to coach it 14 years, middle school kids at St. Louis Catholic School in Memphis, about 600 kids. Used to tell people, if you can enjoy 5 minutes of hell before you run this mile, to the guy, I said, 5 minutes of hell, you'll have memories of a lifetime. Otherwise, you're going to be 80 or 90 years old, sitting around the den with a bunch of kids and grandkids wondering, what if? God bless you. Let's talk about track and field. It's your insurance policy for every sport you play. You can't get enough of it. We need to be building tracks in every community in this country.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, anybody can be a track and field athlete. That it takes a special work ethic to be one of the best, but it doesn't take anything special to be able to run. I believe anyone can do it, and that's one of the things I absolutely loved about this meet last year, is getting to meet the youth and some of those next generations of runners that were just hanging out around the track. And so it's a great atmosphere, a great meet, and I'm so excited to be there.
Who are you running for now?
I'm with Adidas.
Okay, so you're 19 or 20?
I'm 20, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't do college. I mean, kind of like Michael Phelps did not swim in college, but he trained. So
No, actually, she was at a little small NAI school up in Indiana. Broke all the records up there. What's Huntington? Was that what it was?
Yeah, I did a year and a half. Yeah, wow. Year and a half.
So, okay, so you've got your track team. What do y'all? I mean, one thing Eddie's doing in Memphis is he is spreading the gospel of track and field with these kids. You have 3 kids, you have 10, you got 30, you got 62. When Eddie and I were growing up, you were a badass in school if you got the presidential physical fitness badge. Remember that at PDS, Eddie? You had to do your crunches and your push-ups and your pull-ups. We got to get back to square one, because U.S. track and field is global. I mean, track and field people. I had a gold medalist, Harvey Glantz, tell me one time, when he would travel around the world, if he was recognized in an airport, it was like he was Mick Jagger or Robert Plant or the late Meatloaf or something. But you got a global audience that people don't realize. Let's talk about this meet coming up and go back over those records that you just broke. That's impressive, beyond impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that started at Ed Murphey last year. It was the first time I ever broke 2 in the 800, and
wow,
it was a great build up to those late summer races. And the atmosphere around track and field, again, it being such a community event, you don't get a lot of that, I feel like, in the United States. So it builds that encouragement to run fast. I feel like when I went over to Europe in the late summer, there's a lot more of community and people get excited about track and field. And I love meets like this where we bring that to the United States and we bring people together for the love of racing. So it's so much fun to be part of.
Oh, absolutely. Eddie, people out there watching that could be anywhere, kind of tell them today it starts, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. I could not come. I was doing something, missed the party last night. I hate it. But they want to get over there, and there's 3 days of track and field. It's kind of like Lollapalooza. It's kind of the Red Rocks of track and field because it's centrally located.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So we got 250 professional athletes from 20 different countries. 62 Olympians, 15 of them that will be in Paris, that'll be competing. It's pretty amazing. It's very difficult this year because with the Paris Olympics, and last weekend they had a race in Paris, Diamond League. This weekend we're competing against Monaco. The next weekend's in London, and they fire back right over to Paris for the Olympics. And so to have these athletes stick around in America is a little bit difficult, but it's still amazing to me that this was supposed to be our hardest year. And but what we're doing, I think, is resonating. It definitely is. We're in the fabric, and we are in the fabric of track and field. And Addie probably could allude to this. A lot of the athletes that were here last night, that we are doing something special here. We care. It's an athlete first event. Like tonight, we're doing the field events, which has never been done before, to my knowledge. Just the field events alone. So we're just high jump, long jump, triple jump tonight. All these things. Just because the athletes that do these field events, they wanted their own day. They didn't want to be like all these other races and be, behind the scenes while they're running the 1,500 meter or whatever. And so we're going to throw it out there and see if it works. I mean, tonight it's free. You can come out, and obviously, like I told you about our triple jump at 6 o'clock is going to be sick, And then Saturday night we do the Beale Street. Last year we had over 21,000 people on Beale, and an average night, Saturday night on Beale in the summer is about 12,000 people. So this talking about Addie, our biggest goal is to, when she goes to the Europe and all these Olympians are all these, even the athletes that are pushing these Olympians, they're over there and there's 40,000 people in the stands. And last year we were lucky to have 2,000, but the cool thing about it was the year before we maybe had 1,000, so hopefully it will figure it out, because we think about it, Rob, you're talking here about football, right? It's football dominant, SEC, but we are the best NFL brands in the world, baseball, basketball. There's no reason why track and field couldn't be an amazing brand in the United States. And it's a feel good. I mean, last night I had 7 or 8 athletes come up to me. Thank you so much for this opportunity and what you're doing. That's really what it's all about. It really is.
Yeah. All right, we got just a couple of minutes because we got to stay under an hour today, but we're going to get you back on tomorrow if you'll come back on again talking about this. I love, Eddie, you could get people excited about going to their own hanging. You are, I love I've known you since kindergarten. Eddie, tell people right now, young people, they got people, everybody has kids, track and field. Don't be intimidated, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to start somewhere, and each person's starting spot's different, but it's all about you and what you want to accomplish. And anyone can do anything in track and field as long as you put your mind to it. And I mean, I think anyone who's interested in track and field should definitely come out to the meet or even watch it online, because it's a great event to learn about track and field. Like we said, we had the field events tonight, and a lot of those get overlooked, and having their own special time, it's going to help people learn about field events they didn't know about before. It's going to help kids get excited about it. Something they not see at a normal meet. Come out to the track tomorrow and just be very focused on the running events, get excited to see people run fast, and then head down and watch the pole vault, because I think last year at this meet was my first time really sitting and watching pole vault.
Yeah.
And even as a track and field athlete, that was so cool. So there's a place to start, and I think watching it and learning is one of the best places to start. So everyone should come out.
Having coached it, I can remember the high jump, long jump, shot, and discus. That's money in the bank. Those are deposits. That's a savings account. You start with those 4 and you score a lot of points. You've already got momentum, and you can't make that up. All right, Eddie, what time is kickoff tonight, and we'll have to tap out?
Yep. So tonight we've got the youth events all day, starting at 1 o'clock till 4. And then tonight we've got at 5 o'clock, we got the women's long jump, 6 o'clock, I told you, the triple jump, and then 6:30 is the high jump. And then we got the women's shot put and the men's shot put. And we got this kid, Trip Paperi, who's 2-time NCAA champion at Texas. The gold standard is like 22.4. He's going to pop that tonight, which is, that's an amazing stat, that 22 meters. And then Friday, we've got youth meets in the morning. We're going to have 400 kids competing from 7 different states. And that's kicks off tomorrow.
All right, I'll be out there. Eddie, thank you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We're the greatest country in the world. Come watch this Ed Murphy Track Classic. We'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people that help